my quilty friends, how are you guys doing today? If you happen to be new here, my name is Rebecca. Welcome to my sewing room. Now today I'm working on some of my cross stitch, and this is some of the items that I'm going to be using. Now when I'm sitting in there watching TV, I've done quite a few of these, and these are actually Lori Holts stitch cards, but I picked my own color of threads, and I've showed you those in the last video, but now I'm ready to put some together using some of my work that is already finished in my cross stitching. I've also got some muslin fabric that will go on the back of my stitch cards, so when you stuff it with polyfill, it doesn't come through these little air holes. And I do have some polyfill. I've got some regular straight scissors and some pinking shears. I've got my iron, and of course I've got my sewing machine. Also, I've got some needle and thread just to baste some fabric on the back. Now I'm going to show you two different ways that I do the mini pillows. There is so many different ways you can take fabric and stitch it together. You can make it scrappy looking. You can put extra fabric and make these as large as you like. I'm going to make mine into mini pillows, not as small as Lori Holt did hers, but I am going to put some fabric around. Two different fabrics, a little in the front and then one on the back. And then you can embellish these with little safety pins and buttons and any little thing you want to put on there. I have these little metal charms that said made with love. Those would be cute on there, and you can embellish them any way you want. Now I'm waiting for my pins to come in. I ordered them, and once I get those, because I will be doing some more sets, but the one that I'm going to start with is the very first one that I had made. And again, these are stitch cards from Lori Holts. I use the colors of thread that I like the best for each one of these. So let's just go ahead, let me turn the camera down here on my ironing station, and we'll work off of that, and I'll show you how I do my mini pillows that I have cross stitched. So let's go ahead and get started. Now to get started, you can see I have quite a bit of works here, but I'm going to work on the first 4 of the stitch cards that I had done a couple of weeks ago. And I had showed you most all of those in my last video. But taking my work, I'm going to go ahead and turn my iron on and get it ready in case I need it. And I'm going to work off this little ironing cart that my husband had made for me, and we put some ticking fabric on it. But I have some just leftover muslin fabric that I'm going to use to sew on the back of my cross stitch, so that when I stuff the pillow, that it does not seep through all the little air holes. Now I'm not cutting this just precisely, it's just going to be rough cut, and then I'm going to measure from my actual cross stitch work, and I will measure out probably about 1 inch. You can do a 1/2 inch, 1 inch. You can make this any way you want, really. So I'm going to measure and then take a pencil and mark on this. Now, one of the fun things about these is they can be anything you want. You can put more fabric all the way around these. You can use scrappy pieces. you can just do one backing, and I'll show you the other way here in just a little bit of how I do my mini pillows. But I'm just measuring an inch out from where my cross stitch ends here. And I'm just using a pencil. And then when I take this to the machine, it's going to be easy for me just to follow all of those lines, and it just makes it a whole lot easier. And those pencil marks will not show up in your work. Now, after getting all of that traced, I'm just going to take it to the machine and sew all the way around on my pencil mark. And once that is done, I'm picking out some fabric, and I'm trying to coordinate a couple of pieces that'll go together, because on the front of this one, I am going to put just a little bit of fabric, and then I will add the backing in the polka dot blue. But I've already got these 5-inch squares that I had picked up at a yard sale, and I'm just trying to coordinate some fabric that I have here on hand. But you can make this any color you want. It could be bright, checks, polka dots, floral, anything you want to put on there. So I found these two fabrics for this particular pillow, and so I'm going to trim off the edges close to where my seam is. Now I've cut my 5-inch block here in half, and I'm going to use a portion, and I'm going to stitch it at the top and at the bottom. So I'm going to take this to my machine, and when I bring it back, I'm going to cut off any extra threads, just get them out of the way. And then I want to press this with the fabric side going out, and just press both of these on. And then I've got another 5-inch block that I will cut in half the opposite way, so that all of my lines are coming together on this piece. I mean, it can be scrappy, it can be anything you want, but I'm going to go ahead and line this fabric up because I can. Now I'm going to take this to my machine and stitch down each side and bring it back and press it away from my cross stitch work. You can trim off any excess fabric that's in the way, but I just sort of lined up this fabric because I want it to. You don't have to. And just press that away from your cross stitch work. And leaving this face up, I'm going to take my blue polka dotted fabric, and I'm going to put it face to face. Now, before I take this to the machine, I want to go ahead. I trimmed off any excess around there, and I went ahead and put a slit in the back of my fabric, and now it's sandwiching together face to face. I'm going to take this to the machine and stitch all the way around, bring it back, and I want to trim off the corners. If you have a lot of excess here, you want to trim it down to about 1/4 inch from the seam, and then trim off any of the corners so that when you turn this inside out, your corners come out pretty crisp and sharp. So just gently, not pulling too much on the fabric to rip it, you're just going to turn this inside out. And then I will take not too sharp of an object. I can use my scissors on this and get the pointed edges out just a little bit better, where they look a little crisp and sharp. Okay, and here is how it turned out. You can see I have just a little bit of edging fabric, and then I have the back. So I'm going to go ahead and get me some polyfill, and I just want to stretch this out just a little bit so it's not all clumped up, and just take a little at a time and stuff the pillow until you think it has the right amount. You know, if you like it pretty firm, you can keep getting quite a bit of the polyfill in there, but make sure you get it up in the corners real good, and then just continue to stuff it to however fluffy you want your little pillow. Now there's two ways you could do this. You could put the slit in the back, or you could leave a 2-inch gap opening at the bottom, stuff the pillow, and then just sort of whip stitch the bottom. But I went ahead and did the slit in the back. So what I want to do is cut a piece of fabric that's going to fit over this, and I'm using my pinking shears just to give it a little bit of more design on the fabric that I'm using. And since I just had some extra of what I used on the edge of the pillow, I'm just going to go ahead and use a piece of this. And this is going to fit right over. But I'm first going to take my needle and thread and sort of whip that seam together to where it's not going to continue to be a lot of pressure on that opening. And then I will stitch this on, and I like for my stitches to show. You can use just a basting stitch on this, but I like to back stitch it a little bit where it's not pulling too much on the pillow. And then you could also use a blanket stitch on this. That would look good. You could use a piece of fabric or a piece of felt, and you can also add any embellishments to it. Generally, you don't see the back of the pillow, but just in case, you know, you have it sitting out in an open bowl, you might want to go ahead and decorate the back of the pillow a little bit. And to end my stitch, I just pull down that little bit of fabric, and I put 3 or 4 or 5 extra stitches in there, and then put that fabric back over it, and you can't even see the stitch. That just reinforces it, and there it is, it's all done. I think it turned out cute. What do you think? Okay guys, this is one more way to do these, and I think this is a simpler way than putting the outline here on them, because you're using 2 different kinds of fabric. But for this, I always put a piece of fabric, and I have some muslin here, and I've marked 1 inch away from all of my stitching right here, and this is just a pencil mark. And then I took it to my machine, and I stitched that around on the back of it to cover the back, so when you stuff it, it doesn't come through your cross-stitch material. And then what I want to do next is find a piece of fabric to go on the back, and let's see which one matches this the prettiest. I don't know, brings out the blue. I think this is going to be it. Okay, and next I'm going to put these face to face. This is the back side. This is the front. This is the front, face to face. I'm going to turn this over and, oh, hold on. I want to go ahead and put my little cut in there. You can do it later, or you can do it now, but I'm going to go ahead and put a little cut right there, so that, I mean, you can later on pick this up and cut it, but I went ahead and put that in. Now I'm going to take it to the machine and follow this line around, and I'll be right back. I'm going to sew all the way around. Okay, now I've sewed all the way around this again, and what I want to do next is just trim all this extra off. But don't cut into your seams. I'm cutting about 1/4 of an inch from the seam. Next thing you want to do is go ahead and just trim these ends. You don't need all those, but do not cut into your thread. Okay, next, you just want to take and turn it inside out. And try not to pull on it too hard. Do this and leave an opening, like a 2-inch gap opening at the bottom of your pillow, and then just whip stitch or hide your stitch. You could do that, but I do like that, and you can put little pins and buttons and, you know, little accessories on the back if you want to. But I find this is a little easier to do than the ones putting the 2 fabric on it. And they're still just cute as a button. You want to work out your corners. Don't use too sharp of an edge that'll poke through your fabric. I'm going to use my scissors. They don't do too bad. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Let's move this one out of the way. And here you have, and you can even make it a little more mini pillow, but I wanted to leave that extra space because when you put the stuffing in, you sort of sometimes lose the sides. But all I gotta do is, I've already got the little slit in the back. I'm gonna stuff it. Now I'm going to take my needle and thread and I'm going to sort of whip stitch that, and then I have this little piece left from one of the other pillows, and I'm going to use my pinking shears. Give it a little design here. And then I'm just going to stitch that on. And I like to leave my stitches where you can see them. Off camera, I went ahead and did my other 2 little mini pillows. And here they are. How cute are those? And I'm going to enjoy these in my sewing room. And I really enjoy doing the cross stitch. I hope I inspired you all to create your own little mini pillows and learn how to cross stitch. It's just a lot of fun. So if you did enjoy this tutorial, please give this video a like and give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. I will have lots more of sewing fun coming your way.